So on Bill Maher's show, he had a conversation with Eric Dyson about the Israel-Hamas war. And I think Bill provided quite a bit of moral clarity into the conversation and debate, I suppose. Have a watch of this. Really important stuff.
Hamas needs to be eradicated?
I don't believe in any terrorist organization, period, bottom, end of story. But I don't equate Palestinians with Hamas any more than I would.
But they're fighting Hamas. Do you believe that Hamas...
By the way, just to point out, there's the vast majority of Arabs living in Gaza and the West Bank and Judea and Samaria supports Hamas, according to recent polling done in June, actually. We found that in March and earlier polls as well. We find not just support for Hamas, but also for what happened on October 7th. Majority support. So people can try to will that it's not the case, but actually what he's saying is not true.
Well, but they're not fighting. They're not killing Hamas. They're killing.
Well, yeah, they are.
No, I'm saying they're not only killing Hamas.
Of course,
they're killing a lot more people besides. So
okay, well,
my point is,
what war did we ever have where they were only killing the soldiers? None.
Well,
it's ridiculous. We'll continue with Bill in a second. I'm sorry to interrupt, but you know that Israel has a nearly 1-to-1 ratio of Hamas to civilian killed. By the way, I use the term civilian loosely because, yes, there are innocents there, but also many people who would be considered civilians, maybe stockpiling weapons for Hamas, teaching children to become terrorists, supporting Hamas in other ways, hiding hostages. We found a photojournalist was hiding hostages. So even then, I just want to be cautious in using that term because there are civilians who are complicit. But even then, a 1-to-1 ratio or even 1-to-2 ratio is unheard of. So if Israel can't do that, if Israel can't fight a war and they can't even and their ratio is better than any other war in the history of urban warfare, the United Nations average is 9 civilians for every 1 combatant killed, then Israel can't do anything. Because if that's your standard, if your standard is completely impossible, completely unprecedented, only kill Hamas terrorists, as Bill Maher's saying, it's ridiculous. Anyway, we'll keep watching.
Never happened. Never will happen.
All I'm saying, Bill, is that if you're going to have moral outrage, as you should, the evil that was enacted on October 7th is undeniable to me, and I don't apologize for opposition to that. Straightforward, right? When I wrote my piece in the New York Times about anti-Semitism, deeply entrenched in this culture, I believe that. At the same time, we can't talk about a world in which we can't at least acknowledge that the over-response of Israel, that
over-response. Unbelievable.
That many progressive Jews and others have said is wrong and problematic has to be called out. That's what I'm talking about, understanding.
I disagree with the premise. Either you believe Hamas has got to be wiped out. This is a group that, again, has attacked Israel 5 times. Israel gave back that land in 2005. Since then, they took a lot of money from the world that was for charity and for their own people. They stole it. They used it to build tunnels and import bombs and attack Israel 5 times, including that horrible one on October 7th. Okay, their charter says, we'd like to wipe these people off the face of the earth. They proclaim over and over again that they are going to do it. Does that group have to be wiped out? And if it does, then the idea that you know better than the Israeli Defense Force how to accomplish that?
It's not that I know better, but I'm saying, are you saying it's justifiable that the 35,000 people who have been killed now in response to what happened there is something that we're willing to live? I'm saying I want both evils to be eradicated. I want them both to be.
By the way, you should know that the death count has been revised down by nearly half by the United Nations. Okay, so we found out that, funnily enough, the Hamas Ministry of Health are not accurate in their numbers. But we'll continue with the clip in a sec. But I do have to wonder if a 1-to-1 ratio, which is basically what the IDF have achieved, if that's not acceptable in Eric's eyes, what would be acceptable? And can you point to any other army in the history of warfare that has achieved such a ratio? He can't. So this moral equivalence, which he is creating by saying, yeah, I abhor Hamas, but I abhor their response, is wrong. It's not appropriate, and it's basically telling Israel, you just have to fall on your sword.
Removing. I don't justify assaults upon Jews any more than I justify assaults upon
But it's a fake argument.
There we go. There's the moral equivalence.
Because if you think Hamas has to be eliminated, then sometimes people are going to die. And you can't put a number on it because we don't do that with any other war.
Bill, I don't believe the justification of that occurs, and I stand tooth and nail against anti-Semitism. And
no, you don't. Clearly, you don't, because you're not allowing Israel to get rid of Hamas.
The evils visited upon Israel and Jewish people, and we have to hold them accountable. Look, if you oppose Idi Amin, you're not anti-black because you're calling him into question. Now, we know a Jewish state is different. We know Zionism is different. But no, I'm just saying to you, if we can't have it both ways, it used to be that the argument was to Ralph Ellison and other figures who were black, James Baldwin, you're mistaking Israel with Jews. Now we're talking about the collapse of that. We must protect to the nth degree the ability of people to live freely from terror and destroy that terror. But the terror is operating in multiple forms.
Right, but Israel can't do what they need to do to get rid of the terror, because you're not. If you're saying that their 1-to-1 ratio is unacceptable, which has never been heard of in warfare, then you're saying that they can't do anything. So all his words are meaningless when he says he's against anti-Semitism. And then to talk about, well, there's a difference between Israel and the Jews. This is where it's starting to get even more sinister, to be honest. He sits there in his comfortable studio in Los Angeles saying that, well, they shouldn't be, they're being disproportionate. Okay. Let's be clear. Israel is the home of the Jewish people. For 2,000 years, the Jewish people have not had a state of their own. They had a state 2,000 years ago. They were forcibly kicked out and they were exiled, and for 2,000 years faced unprecedented levels of persecution. The intensity was unmatched, both in the Arab world and the Western Christian world. So, as Douglas Murray said in his debate with Mehdi Hasan, it is very clear that the other nations have not got a good track record of protecting the Jewish people, and the Jewish people cannot count on that. And the best people to protect the Jews are the Jews themselves. And that's what Israel is. Israel is the Jewish people living back in their ancient historic homeland, their God-given homeland, protecting themselves. I'm not having these comparisons to Idi Amin and all of that. It's so sinister to make such comparisons. It's not like we have a tiny, Idi Amin didn't have the love and support of his people, I'm sure, if he was to ask them behind closed doors. Israel does. Overwhelming support of the Jewish people. And that's a real gaslighting thing that he did right there. And so if you're saying that, well, I hate anti-Semitism, but the Jews can't have their own state, which is clearly and obviously the only demonstrable way in which they can protect themselves, then your words are meaningless. They are empty. They're worse than that. They're actually manipulative, because you're not being genuine. You're not being honest. It is people that tell you, well, yeah, no, Israel can defend themselves for sure, but I don't like what they're doing. When Israel has conducted this war more surgically, more precisely, and I'm not even endorsing that, by the way, because it's come at the cost of IDF lives, of Israeli soldiers' lives, and it's come at the cost of having a much more long war process. But I'm just saying, according to his standards of warfare and what he demands in terms of saying they can go after Hamas but not civilians, Israel has done that to the nth degree. And so I think we should not take any of this nonsense from people like Eric and call it out, and call out his virtue signaling when he says, I care for the Jews and anti-Semitism, but don't like what Israel's doing. When you say stuff like that, no, you don't. Don't take it seriously when they say stuff like that. It's double talk, and it's not something that we should tolerate or even think, oh, well, yeah, this guy's a good actor that's does care for us. He's just a bit, misinformed. When you say stuff like that, you're not being genuine. It's disingenuous to say that you don't like anti-Semitism, but the Jewish people can't protect themselves. Hi, thank you so much for watching. To watch another one, click here. To stay up to date with all our content, click here to subscribe. And if you're able to, you can help support JTV to grow and grow by clicking join below this video, where you can become a member and get perks including early access to videos and private live discussions with me. But most of all, you'll be partnering with us on our mission to change the world.